With the offseason upon us and every move that we see every other team making, a lot of fans and reporters are trying to tell me what Howie Roseman's going to do. They're trying to tell me that he doesn't necessarily care about these free agents and that all he's worried about is comp picks. Well, I'm calling BS. I think that we've been lied to, and I'm going to tell you why. So let's get into it. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today we're going to talk about this offseason and why I don't think that it's such a drawn out conclusion like I think a lot of people are saying. And I think there's some room to be hopeful for the rest of this offseason. Now, before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 5K, and I would love for you guys to join that ride. Also, I would love for you guys to join us tomorrow. We're going to be doing Best of Enemies, me and James, or that's tonight, excuse me. But it's going to be a lot of fun, so I'm excited for that. Hopefully see you guys there tonight at 7 o'clock. But let's get into this, man. So I've been told a lot about what Howie has on his mind, right? I've been told that Howie is just trying to get all these comp picks next year. There's 4 that you can get. I'm hearing that he's just trying to totally rebuild this defense. I'm hearing that, I'm hearing a whole bunch of things about this Philadelphia Eagles team and this front office and their decision making. Obviously, not re-signing a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is something that I'm upset about. I really want Chauncey on this team, but it's not over. It's far from over, right? You can still see what happens as far as other teams. There's still teams that can, say, hey, we'll give you 15, we'll give you 14, and he's like, I'll take the 2 less and go back to Philly where I had some fun. So there's still hope that he could be a Philadelphia Eagle. I think that Javon Hargrave, on the other hand, is probably a little bit more gone. That is a very, very hefty price tag, but I don't think that it's a fire sale as much as many people are telling me that it is. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman have done this before. We had a lot of good players this year, and it was a little bit of a different situation from a lot of other years, right? A lot of other years you didn't really necessarily have all these one-year deals that just worked out so well, or guys on their last year of their deal that just worked out so well. It's a little bit different, right? But we've seen this before. The Eagles like to stay quiet prior to the draft, right? Prior to the draft, they may sign one person. I think we signed Hassan Reddick last year. They might sign one person prior to the draft, but usually before the draft, we're not hearing too much. It's usually signing our own, getting our own ducks in the order, restructuring, extending, making sure that our ducks are in the order. And now that we just came off of a Super Bowl win, I don't think that it's any different. In fact, I think that it's even more exasperated. If you look at what the Philadelphia Eagles like to do, they like to play that waiting game. We didn't have much time to wait. There wasn't much time for the Eagles to get all their stuff in order. I understand that they're working year round, and it's not just as soon as the NFL stops, they actually start doing their job. I understand that they've been working, they've been scouting all year, they've been talking about this money all year. I'm sure they have a number of scenarios going throughout their head, but when's the last time we've spent big money this early in free agency or this early in the offseason? We just don't do that. We just don't do that. So I don't think that the Eagles are sitting back and saying, oh, let's just grab a bunch of comp picks for next year. Our defense could be bad. It doesn't matter. Let's just grab a bunch of comp picks. I don't think that that's what we're saying. I mean, if you look at Howie Roseman's final press conference, right, and what he said after the Super Bowl, he said he has a scar. He says we're wearing a scar. He wants to do everything that he can in his powers to get the Philadelphia Eagles back to that Super Bowl and to be able to win it. That doesn't sound like a man that is saying, well, let's get some comp picks. Comp 3rd and 4th round picks. Those are treasures. I get it. There's a lot of numbers thrown out right now. There's a lot of scenarios thrown out right now. But to think that this Philadelphia Eagles team is just going to sit and wait, that would scare me. That would actually make me very upset as a fan and as a person that follows this team that is totally far from what they usually do. Howie Roseman has said before, cap space doesn't win you money. Cap space is not going to get you, or win you games, excuse me. Cap space isn't going to bring you to the Super Bowl. Having an extra $30 million that you don't spend in the offseason isn't going to bring you to a Super Bowl. So I have no doubts that there's going to be some moves. Will there be high-end moves? Probably not. Will we still get those 4 compensatory picks? Most likely, to be 100% 100% honest, it's going to be very, very hard to re-sign what we lost, no matter what. Even if we go out there and get a couple guys, it probably still won't add up to what we are going to lose. So we will probably get those picks, but I don't think that that's the game plan. I don't think that Howie Roseman and company are walking in and saying, all right, guys, hey, we lost the Super Bowl. It's tough. We have a great team, but we can get some comp picks. Now, I haven't really looked at next year's draft. Shout out to Fran Duffy, because when we were at the Combine, he kept on asking almost every player. He was like, who are we talking about next? So he kind of made me want to start looking at next year's draft. But, I don't think that Howie and company are looking that far ahead. I think that the onus is on right now. Keep talking to your guys. Obviously, I put out that the Eagles were in contract talks with Brandon Graham. That seems to be coming to fruition. And it seems like they've spoken to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I mean, obviously he put up the goodbye to Philly and everything. I don't know. That kind of made me upset. I'm going to be 100% honest. I didn't really like that. Like, wait till everything's done. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just give us we still got time to re-sign you. Don't just say you're done. Give us some time. What is it? Is it more to it? Because he did also, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson liked when Denard Wilson got the job in Baltimore. He went as far as liking it and retweeting it. So it could be that simple, that he just wants to follow Denard. He feels he brought the best out of him and he wants to go follow him. So that could be what it is, but I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too early for him to be saying goodbye. Maybe it was in his mind to get out of Philly after this year. Either way, I don't know. I don't know, but I just do know that I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to sit and wait. Don't get too caught up in comp picks. Don't get too caught up in the comp pick formula. Let them worry about that. What our job should be is watching and looking at what players can realistically help this team. There are, and even if you stay outside of the comp picks, right? If you don't want to spend comp picks, you can go get yourself a cornerback without having to mess with that compensatory formula, because I believe Shaquille Griffin just got cut, and when you get released from a team or cut from a team, that doesn't count towards your comp picks. So there are ways around it and still getting good players. There's a number of veterans that have been cut, and I actually got to talk to my guy Brad Spielberger from PFF. I'm going to drop a little card, I think they call it. If you want to go watch that, definitely go watch that. We broke down a lot about why these veterans are getting cut, what a Jalen Hurts contract may look like, and stuff like that. So look, at the end of the day, all I'm here to say is I think that a lot of people are trying to lie to us, are trying to tell us that this offseason is going to be quiet, that this offseason ain't nothing going to happen. This offseason, the Eagles, no matter what, are taking a step back. I don't believe that. I truly do not believe that. I think, if anything, we're doing the same thing that we do almost every year. We're waiting till after the draft, and then we're going to get a whole bunch of guys on cheap deals that are still just kind of waiting around. Is it the smartest thing in the world? Not necessarily, but we already have big name players on big time contracts on both sides of the ball. So I don't see the Eagles looking to add even more. Maybe we get a safety that's a little bit more expensive than normally we pay, right? I know when Malcolm Jenkins left, it was literally over because we didn't want to give him $8 million and he felt disrespected. So maybe that's what happens this year. Maybe we finally, kind of go over our cap, right? Like, I feel like the Eagles have a number that they don't want to go past when it comes to certain positions. Maybe this year they change that up, but I do believe at the very, very worst, you're going to see this roster fill out. You're going to see this roster fill out, whether it's getting cornerbacks in the draft and then filling out the safety spot in free agency, whether it's, vice versa, whether it's D-line and then worrying about your secondary in free agency. The Eagles have a lot of options. I don't want anyone getting caught up too much in what's going to happen next year or what this has to do with next year, because that's not our job. Our job is not to worry about those comp picks. And if he's worried about those comp picks, that makes me very worried. That does, because I understand that we all love the draft, and I love the draft. Don't get me wrong. It would be awesome to go out to, Indianapolis next year and have 12 picks and just go crazy. I'll be like a kid in a candy shop. But at the end of the day, draft picks are not guaranteed. Free agency isn't necessarily guaranteed, but at least a little bit more of what they are in the NFL. But the draft is not guaranteed, and I understand that this team wants to get younger, but there's ways of doing that without giving up your future. What I will say What I will say about those comp picks, if he is going to utilize them, this is how I think he utilizes them this year before he even gets them. And that's by looking at our draft next year and saying, I can give up a couple thirds. I can give up a third. I can give up a fourth. I can give up some mid-round picks because I'm most likely going to get some of these back. So that's how I see it. Maybe a nice little trade, maybe an under-the-radar trade where you throw a fourth in there, you throw a fifth in there, maybe a third in there for a really good player, you know, and you can kind of package those picks and utilize them in a way that makes you better next year, makes you grow next year, while still getting younger, while not losing any picks, while not messing with that the compensatory formula. So there's a lot of things that the Eagles can do. There is, and I don't think they're just not going to do them. So when someone tells you, hey, this year is all about comp picks, we don't care about this defense, we're not signing nobody, just look at him and say, okay. That's it. Just look at him and say, okay. Let's wait and let's see what happens, because we've been told before we don't got no money. Last year we were in a way worse spot. We've been told we don't got no money. We've been told that it's going to be quiet. And what happens, right? We can look all the way back to when we got Alshon Jeffries. Everybody told us that was never going to happen. It happened. Everybody told us last year we weren't going to do anything. What happened? I mean, like, let's be realistic and let's look at this the history of this Eagles team. So that's how I feel. You guys let me know how you're feeling. What do you think? Do you think that this year is just about compensatory picks? Do you think that they're going to do some things in free agency? How are you feeling about how everything's going so far? Let me know in the comments. But other than that, y'all know what it is. It is Fly Goes Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Fly Goes Fly on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do 'em in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.